Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas. Welcome to Insight Tonight with Ashok Vyas. Today we are going to be talking about something which is relevant for one and all, and it is relevant in the context of Indo-Pak tension, which has de-escalated thanks to a lot of steps that were unfolded. But I want to begin by introducing my guest, who also was one of the chosen few who interacted with Prime Minister Narendra Modi during one of his visit to America, and what he heard from him and where it connects to the overall scope of peace, what kind of mindset we have while we operate. That determines whether we are at peace with ourselves, whether we are in harmony with people around us, or whether as a nation, whether we believe in coexistence with respect and dignity. So having said that, wealth coach as well as author of an important book which tells us how to attain emotional freedom, Mayur T. Dalalji joins me today.
Namaste.
Mayur bhai, I want to begin by asking you, what is it that you would say determines how we perceive peace? Because in the same room, there could be someone very, very restless and another one could be at peace.
You ask a very profound question, Ashok bhai. So thank you. When you talk about different human beings with different philosophies, different journey of life, traveling together, peace means different things to different people. So when it comes down to peace for a family, it means all of us are in sync with aligned values. When you talk about peace for the community, it's all about aligned interests. And when you talk about the peace for the country, we all have to come together, collaborate together, and coexist together with all our differences of thoughts, with one unified vision, mission, and purpose. When you have that, it creates a wonderful tranquility and peace.
Okay, so let me, I was about to interview, but you concluded at the right time. See, when we want to coexist with different kind of thoughts, and our perception is the thought entertained by the other party is to destroy us, then then how would both these thoughts, we want to survive and thrive, and someone we perceive whether they really intend or some of their steps also tell us, and I'm talking as a nation in the context of India and Pakistan.
I have to be very respectful for every living human being. When we form opinions, it's our limited vision we have looked at. What we have to see is much deeper rooted outcome that are happening, that everybody is experiencing. And when you talked about the recent events that happened in Pulwama, what you talked about how Jasme Masjid said that they are claiming the responsibility. Now, I learned very early stage from Swamiji that every living human being is a wonderful person, but if they are misguided based on borrowed wisdom and imposed wisdom to make others believe that what they are saying is truth, and intimidation may be the only answer to get the attention to do what we need to do at the expense of taking lives of innocents, at the expense of impacting the existence with peace and harmony. So our message or even communication to everyone is, please do not misguide.
Okay, so here is the thing. This message didn't reach somebody who was misguided and they behaved in a violent fashion. Now you were at the receiving end, and if you talk peace and peace and peace and they're not listening, then you need to show strength. Is that the right way?
Absolutely, and that's why Lord Krishna had said beautifully to Arjun that it is not about Mahabharata It is all about ideology, principles, and self-defense. So what Modi ji has done recently and what our entire army and the country and the people of India has done is come together with one common goodness, and that is, if innocents are killed, to protect all innocents is our responsibility, is our fiscal governance role. And for doing that, he instructed army to do whatever it takes in self-defense. He didn't start this. He is merely responding to what is being created as an outcome, and that's why it's not wrong to fight to protect your loved ones, but it is wrong to be aggressive, to create provocation and intimidation.
So it is definitely not just a right thing to do, probably the only way. If somebody comes and attacks you, whatever strength you have, you need to try and protect yourself as an individual also. So let us talk about individuals, and before we talk about how we respond to various news items or events unfolding in our period, let us go to that special meeting which you off the camera kindly shared with me. When you interacted one-on-one with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, what is it that has stayed with you from that interaction?
I have been very blessed and fortunate to meet several significant leaders over the last 60 years. And what resonated between our conversation was pure and selfless commitment to serve others. We call these human beings servant leaders. There are three kinds of leaders: supportive leaders, servant leaders, and dominant leaders. Dominant leaders always want to make sure that they look good. Support leaders always are the best lieutenants for running the country, running the company, running the family. But servant leaders are unsung heroes. They never worry about, they never care about, and they don't even pay attention to whether or not they are recognized. They do unconditional, selfless service to everyone that they touch. And that is exactly what looked at Narendra Bhai at that point of time. I felt his genuineness, his sincerity, and his commitment to serve. And this was just in the very first 3 months after he got elected as a Prime Minister. His grasp of the subject matter, his grasp about the events that he had come for, and his grasp and engagement with everyone felt that he understood their needs. And that is an amazing quality for any wonderful servant leader.
Servant leader is a good term which he says as Pradhan Sevak, and so Pradhan Sevak, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has played an important role in the history of India in certain ways which would ring bell for years to come. But when the phone rings bell, that distracts us, and there is a way that we need to go beyond distractions.
Yeah.
And when we are beyond distractions, then only we can focus.
Right.
In this context, social media not only disseminates a lot of information, ideas, but sometimes imaginary scenes are also passed on from one group to another group, and there is a kind of restless mental state which people reach just by reading comments either on Facebook or WhatsApp groups, etc. So talk to me a little bit about toxic energy, social media, Indo-Pak conflict.
What was your last statement?
Indo-Pak conflict in that context,
okay.
yeah. Because we had a lot of messages circulating.
So, there is an estimate that more than 2 million WhatsApp messages exchanged hands across the world as it related to Indo-Pak disturbance that took place on 14th of February. There are three parts to life. One, when you make decision to focus only on the things that matter, then everything else becomes a noise. Secondly, when it comes down to your survival and focus, you will only focus on those issues and matters that will allow you to regain your focus. And the third most important thing is asking yourself a question: what I have become part of the process, can I contribute to preserving, transforming, and saving dignity, emotions, and the environment that needs to be provided to the family members of those who have lost their lives. If you cannot do that, the most you should do and you must do is prayers. Because today, more than 4 to 5 hours a day, people have spent exchanging videos, exchanging pictures, exchanging text messaging. Unfortunately, none of those could help and reach to the members of the family who lost their loved ones. Secondly, the amount of man hours that were invested in distracting yourself, whoever became part of the process, became agitated. So they reacted to the situation, they did not respond to the situation.
And so let me hold you here. He has used these words very carefully: reaction and response. These are two different things, but they appear to be the same. When you react, you feel that I have responded. So how would you distinguish the two?
If you think and act, you are responding. If you act and then think after, you are reacting.
Think and act.
If you think about the situation and think through and then take the action based on what your thought process permitted you, empowered you to do, then it is responding to that situation. A lot of time, instantly, based on somebody agitating you, instantly you not respond, but you instantly type and send your answer. And after you send the answer, after 15 minutes, 20 minutes thinking, oh my God, that's not what I meant. That's not what I should have forwarded. That's not what I should have done. So when you take actions and then do an afterthought, you have reacted to the situation. And 9 out of 10, you regret after the fact if you have reacted rather than responded.
Okay, so this is a very interesting space and the context of preparedness for peace. So as an individual, when you prepare for peace, or how one should prepare for peace, some secret lies in what you just said. Most of the time there are impulsive reactions. We do not have enough of patience to process. And sometimes they say that if you keep on processing, then where will be the time to actually act? So that might result into what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, there was policy paralysis. So now talk to me a little bit about being dynamic and yet being thoughtful and not getting bogged down by too much analysis, as you mentioned, think it through. So on this.
So you have touched upon not only the political related situation, but it also applies to corporate as well as families. Okay. They always say analysis paralysis. So when you overanalyze, you become indecisive. But I would just cite specific important communication that Prime Minister Modi did to the world and to the community of Indian people. And he said that he is in close communication with every stakeholder that is responsible to prepare for restoring peace, preserving peace, and enhancing peace. Appropriate answers will be done and provided to, and all those people who did what they did will be brought to justice. Now he did that exactly 72 hours later. So in 72 hours, in spite of millions of text messaging and the media exposure that was going on, it did not deter his focus, it did not deter his army, all of the three wings of army's focus, and the decision and the actions that were taken at 3:30 a.m. in the morning 2 days ago was reflection of decisive laser focus action, which is outcome of unified positive energy. It was not out of vengeance, it was not out of anger, it was after well thought out of elimination of toxic people, elimination of toxic energy creators, and elimination of people who are creating provocations to disturb peace and harmony. So coming back to the policy paralysis that you're talking about, 9 out of 10 in the political world, they are all public servants. And they all ultimately have one thing at the close to their heart: protecting people is the responsibility, but getting re-elected becomes their one of the alternative. So they are very careful about what to say or how to say. Just around the corner.
So here, the reason I'm laughing out, not at the situation, but see, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's action or decision to give authority to armed forces to deal with the situation in the most befitting manner as they decide was interpreted as a political decision looking at the elections likely to happen in May in India. Now, there were other political parties who initially supported, but later on they probably felt that the whole credit for India's unified reaction would go towards Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party. So they started speaking in a different tone also. So now this is a compulsion that you you have to look at your immediate gains many times. Whether you are an individual, you will be selfish. If you are not, somebody will say that you are fool. If you are a politician, you would look at your party's interest, and sometimes you will ignore a national interest. Talk to me a little bit about how to find a balance, because you have a certain need to sustain your chair.
Ashok bhai, I love your candor and I love your straightforwardness. Lack of clarity results into lack of instant gratification or instant gratification. Over the period of last 5 years that I have observed India transforming from where they were last 35 years to where they are in the last 5 years, every person that has gone through experience, whether we the expatriates, whether the local people, how the infrastructure creation, how the education, how the subsidies given for the liquid petroleum gas, how touching the hearts of the people through Swachha India and making public toiletry available through private-public partnerships, every one of those is not for Prime Minister Modi. He has said that whatever salary I am getting, even that is going towards educating the girls in India. So he's not keeping anything to himself. I am not BJP person, I am not Congress person, I am just a visionary leader that observes and understands the genuineness, transparent human behavior. So what I have seen Modi reflecting recently had nothing to do looking good to win election. He is not even concerned about whether or not he will or he will not win the election. Okay, I will share with you a secret of life.
Please.
Delegators never worry about taking credit. Controlled mechanism entities never let go of control. So from the time that Modi became Prime Minister, he decentralized and delegated to scale the capacity, to empower common man, to empower his own bureaucrats in the IAS, IFS, IPS, every step of the way. And he also created a level of collaborative effort. He is the probably only world leader that I know in last 35 years who's been able to collaborate with Canada to get uranium, China to get the specific power dam and others, Japan to get the high-speed train, America to get the technology transfer, Israel to get the intelligence and cybersecurity transfer. Every one of these countries have collaborated with India. So he is essentially served and proven beyond anybody's doubt in the world as well as Indian common people that it's not about him, it's not about BJP, it's all about what is right for the country. He put India's interests just like Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel rather than his own self-serving interests.
What you have just said takes our consciousness towards a higher plane, and then one is reminded that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is inspired by Swami Vivekananda, and even before or during the election, a lot of saints also gave their blessings to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and that is not going to happen in a calculated manner, that there has to be some genuineness. What you are saying is not acceptable to many of our friends in Indian Congress in India, including the president of Congress party, and most of the time when he would come and have his press conferences, he'll have certain not very complimentary words for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, including the phrase like "Chaukidar chor hai" and then the Rafale deal, etc. So probably they have their reasons and their perception. But when we're talking about preparedness for peace, then genuinely you need not have animosity, or forget about animosity, even anger in your heart for anyone. So when we look at preparedness for peace and keeping our concern about how political parties interact with each other, because in recent times we have seen the kind of words used by, if I say so-called leaders, are not very pleasing.
Ashok bhai, that pains me also, and I don't blame them for what they are doing, but I also would like to encourage everyone who is watching that ignorance is not the bliss, and if they are ignorant about, and there is a beautiful phrase where it says, if you don't know what you don't know,
right,
speculation becomes the truth. If you know what you don't know, you become the truth seeker and you look for the person, the leader and the party or even the country who will guide you to the truth and reality. And those who have enlightened themselves with the truth and they know what they know. If they know what they know, they are able to exponentially grow and transform the outlook, outcome and the future generations' energy levels. The toxic energies brings drainage and really pulls down people's motivation or even inspiration, and that is why both of us have grown up in India. I don't remember going frequently to every election to vote because every time it was the same election manifesto and it didn't appeal to my logic and heart, so I decided not to vote for something that I didn't believe in and they didn't have alignment of my interest with theirs. Today we have somebody who has given his life for good of the country, and what has been achieved in the 5 years, you have to remember India has 30 plus states in the country with 2,000 dialects. To bring common good for everyone, for 1.3 billion people, it is not easy. And you cannot please everyone 100% of the time, but when he prioritized, he is able to take care of most urgent and important, which is ease of transportation, ease of reaching distance A to distance B, ease of communicating with each other, and ease of making decisions for each other. And that is why every common man, whether it is Dhobi or whether he is a rekadiwala, or whether he is a very, very small struggling driver, today has been able to connect and access the same level of information that no one had except the elite few only 10 years ago. So what he has done is 60% of a big weightlifting he has been able to do, has been able to provide a better outlook and better outcome for 800 million common men in India. And this is where it didn't worry. Yes, the 300 million suffered because these are small and medium businesses who, because of demonetization and the goods and services tax, had to overcome the parallel economy, cash economy, now to go into the cashless economy. It is a transition. My friend, it has taken 70 years for us after the freedom to overcome, to do what we had to do. Now it is about time for us to adapt to change and grow.
Mayur, what you just said, the way you articulated, and before a little while ago you said that you are not a BJP guy. Congress people would have hard time in accepting that you are not a BJP guy. But it is happening. Many people are objectively looking and they find good things happening in India, and they have something connecting all that good with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They cannot help share the truth as is visible to them.
So Ashok bhai, when you change your focus and change your paradigm from people to process, you are part of a process. I ask every one of my friends who are from different parts of India who are watching this program, understand earlier how many hospitals you had with trauma centers, how many roads and the highways that you had that you were able to save life of your loved ones. What is the level of capacity and the access to the resources that you had, that you have today? Put yourself into being human. And when you become a human, your reflection will be for your loved ones. You would no longer wear a hat off, wear a jacket off, wear a kind of roll off, a affiliated party.
So, Mayur, looking at the time constraint, and as we move towards the concluding part of this conversation, one, I profusely want to thank Mayur T. Dalalji for the kind of in-depth grasp not only of the events but also of the underlying philosophical principles as well as psychological nuances that govern our lives. And I'm also reminded, based on what I heard from you, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been a great proponent of yoga.
Yes.
We call it yoga in Western world. So popularizing yoga in United Nations and then having a International Day of Yoga.
Sure.
In just 2 minutes, you want to say something about how preparedness of peace is related to yoga.
That's beautiful. We have 80% water inside our body and 20% oxygen. That's breathing. And when we talk about the breathing, when you take a deep breath and do it every day, thrice a day, you prevent any toxins accumulation inside your body. So what Narendra Bhai Modi or others, including Baba Ramdev, has done in popularizing yoga, essentially it is free, it is effective, it is very beneficial to help you regain your focus, your positive energy, your productivity and your profitability.
So profitability is important, and we have definitely been benefited and profited by your presence. And any parting words in terms of one thing that you think helps any individual in staying with peace with himself or herself?
Yes. Introspect, reflect and forgive. These three things if you do, it will make world a much better place.
Introspect,
reflect and forgive.
introspect, reflect, and forgive, and that these are the steps which would help us prepare for peace. And now, being at peace means being silent. So for now, we'll be silent from this show, and I would thank wealth coach Mayuti Dalalji for joining us and sharing all this.
Thank you,
Wealth
Ashok bhai. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for being with us. This is Ashok Vyas from Insight Leadership.